25% of my batchmates married to each other, right? So that the number is real across campuses and across years. So can well be a part of your top 5 things to chase in an MBA school. So let's say if your B school friend who's gone to a company A as a direct joinee versus you have gone to this same company as an MBB consultant, you would end up being in the boardroom at least 7 years before your batchmate can even go and see how the boardroom looks like. I entered this branch and there's a huge line, and I asked the branch manager, how do you typically give loans? He said, very simple. The mafia will come, place his gun here, and I will sanction the loan. Right?
We have Pratik Ranjan, who is a principal at Boston Consulting Group. So please welcome him with a huge round of applause, guys. Just to start off, I want to start off on a lighter note. Which is your the most prettiest campus you have been to?
The prettiest campus, will get bashed for this. I'll not give I'll give an honest answer, but that will be the last answer. The excellent, impeccable, beautiful library, red bricks. IIM Ahmedabad is all about that, right? But it's a tiny campus. It's not a huge campus, right? IIM Bangalore is pretty, and I'll stop there. IIM Calcutta has lakes, and that's the USP. IIM Lucknow is my home campus. I'm definitely biased. It's a big campus, very pretty, lots of flowers, peacocks, all kinds of biodiversity that you can think of, from monitor lizards to snakes to, anything that you can imagine you'll find on the campus. I've seen a porcupine, a fox, and I've also seen, fox for people in real, but also seen the real foxes. So, so you'll find all kinds of animals in IIM Lucknow. But let me now come to the actual answer. The most beautiful campus that I feel is the most beautiful one, and where I was the last week, is IIM Kozhikode. You will almost not imagine it to be a campus. You'll always feel that you're in a resort which has been painted by somebody. It doesn't feel real. You feel like you're in Switzerland. It's so away from the hustle, bustle, usual campus life that it almost feels like you're in a 5-star resort.
Just a quick addition to that. We have been to IIM Kozhikode for content, and we've been there in July. It was downpouring and it was beautiful. I mean, there, even if it rains, it's so well connected that you won't get wet because everything is connected via sheds, and you have proper pathways to go from the, top to bottom. It's on 2-story.
It's not 2-story. So the beauty of that campus is you are on ground zero. Then you travel 700 meters elevation, you're still on ground zero because the elevation keeps changing. So every building has a different, ground floor. So and like he said, all the buildings are connected. So you move from a ground floor to a ground floor after walking 700 meters. I was almost baffled. What's happening? Right? So that campus is great. Even if you do not, end up in IIM Kozhikode, you are going to some other campus, given this fraternity allows you to move across campuses through competitions, through, Sangharsh, which is the inter-IIM, sports event. IIM Kozhikode doesn't participate. It's only for ABCL. But if you get opportunities like this to go to some other campus, please pounce on it, right? And I say this a lot of times, and I'll say it again. Your MBA is the last time you'll meet people of such high caliber, right, who bring experience from different domains, who probably, have had experience of in anything and everything that you can imagine, right? So if you are a startup founder, you need a designer, a finance manager, a marketing person. All of them are around you. If you're a 32-year-old person who wants to marry, probably the prospects are around you, right? If you're somebody who wants to pick up a new hobby, anybody and everybody who would know it or have interest in it is around you, right? So almost before you enter the gates of any MBA college, what you should do is you should make a list of 5 things you want out of your campus, and let's keep it to 5. Otherwise, you'll not get to those either, right? And write them down. And these can be serious life problems. It can be, like I said, finding a co-founder. It can be finding a life partner. It can be finding a new hobby. It can be finding a career overhaul. Whatever it is, write it down, because the moment you enter the gates of your campus, you will be lost in FOMO. 100 things that everybody is doing, and you will be pushed from within to do all of those 100. And in this race of doing 100 things, you will lose out on the 5 that you had planned to do, right? So write these 5 things down. And, I might sound non-serious when I say that, finding a life partner might be one of these 5 things. 25% of my batchmates married to each other, right? So that the number is real across campuses and across years. So can well be a part of your top 5 things to chase in an MBA school.
I think you made them even more excited for the B school journey now. So to give context, just let's have a quick run through your journey, sir, since you're
Absolutely.
MBA. Like how did you, can you elaborate a little more on your IIM Lucknow days?
Okay, so I'll start with, where I started. I was in very average tier 2 raised. I've lived in Jamshedpur. 4 of my generations have worked for Tatas. I would absolutely want and go back to work with Tata Steel. Unfortunately, and which is what made me kind of do my engineering. I came to an engineering college. I was the state topper, national topper, etc. in my ICSE. I said, I'll go to the best campus engineering. I couldn't crack IIT, so I went to an NIT. Did my mechanical engineering, was the department topper there. But to my surprise, in my pre-final year, I found that my dream company then, Tata Steel, did not visit my campus, right? I was fully shattered, but I found a backdoor entry. So this company called L&T visited, my campus. And I realized that L&T has a live project running with Tata Steel. So I said, I now can enter Tata Steel, which is where 4 of my generations have worked, and go back and serve them, right? So I went back and kind of cracked L&T, being the department topper. It was not difficult for me. I joined, I worked within L&T and served this company. But on day 2 of my working with L&T, I knew this is not what I want to do, right? And I was in a circumstance where I could not go and take, CAT coaching, etc., etc. Some of these online resources definitely helped me, and which is where I cracked my CAT. And this journey kind of made me realize that I want to do marketing. Because, I'm somebody who wants to be around people, kind of bring out insights from them. I love talking to people, even if I'm, on zero on energy. If I'm put between, a large set of people, I will always be energized. I was that kind of a persona. So I said, let me do marketing. And, there is where my research began. I said, okay, which campus is a marketing campus? So the answer I had then, and a part of that stays true today, is that IIM Ahmedabad is a PEVC campus. IIM Bangalore is a Genman campus. IIM Calcutta is a finance campus. IIM Lucknow is a marketing campus, right? So that was my understanding, that I said, okay, I'm not going to any other campus. I am going to do marketing, which is what I want. I cannot make a mistake again to go to a random place, random company. I am going to this place because it has marketing offers. So I've done my research, bags packed. I am in IIM Lucknow. Day 1 of IIM Lucknow. I am the first person, first row, very proud of myself. So the finance teacher enters and she says, okay, let's start with a quick round of intro. I am waiting for everybody to clap. So I'm the first one to speak. I say, okay, I'm Pratik Ranjan. I'm the national topper in my 10th, state topper in my 12th. I'm the department rank holder, etc. in my, UG, blah, 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 right? The next person is an actress from South India. The next person is a basketball player, plays nationally for India. The next one was a CA plus CFA level 3. And this goes on. This gave me the shock of my life. I was like, okay, this is the set of people that I'm competing with, but it also kind of reassured me that anything and everything that is there to be learned, right, from a finance to an acting to a marketing, is right in front of me, right? And that is that. So I'll be super honest, right? I wanted to do marketing, but FOMO is real. All of you, as you enter, everybody has this huge frenzy for consulting, right? If I ask you today, how many of you want to do consulting? Let's be honest. 80%? Those 20% people who are being honest right now will also start raising their hands 2 days into an MBA school, right? I'll tell you why, and that's what happened to me. So this person who's almost convinced to leave every B school and go to IIM Lucknow because it's a marketing campus, now knows that there's a bird called consulting, and I have to take a ride, right? I have no idea what it means, but because everybody who has a greater or an equivalent profile wants to be in consulting, that was my frenzy as well. But somebody kind of gave me a cup of coffee and said, listen, you want to do marketing, so do it. So that is where I kind of brought myself back. I prepared really hard, really, really hard. I cracked Unilever. The trivia was Unilever had not given a PPO for 8 years in marketing at IIM Lucknow. So I was like, I'm fine if I don't get a PPO. I'll go and do my internship. I cracked Unilever. I did an international internship in the UK, which is their head office. I also came back with a PPO and an iPad as the best intern that year. But in all of this, what I learned was two things. One, that I really love marketing. But the other thing which I realized is, what are the other things I love? What beyond marketing, which I've never explored, is something that I can love? And which is where I came back to campus and said, I was the first person to get a PPO on campus. So I had the oyster in front of me. I said, okay, I'll do everything it takes to take the 100% out of my MBA. I went back to those 5 things. One of which was starting my own venture. So I started one. I started a merchandise venture. It is still there in IIM Lucknow. So whoever goes to IIM Lucknow, anybody going to IIM Lucknow? You'll find my venture there. It's called Hellmark. It's the official store of IIM Lucknow. I started it. I started my venture. I also started doing case competitions. I was late into it, but I won 35. I'm yet to come across anybody who's won as many as these case competitions. And in this journey, what I realized was, there's no one domain that excites me. What excites me is solving difficult problems. And therefore, I was pretty kind of convinced when I entered the gates of an MBA, but mid of my MBA, I know that I do not know what to do next. And the only domain that allows you to live with that kind of ambiguity in your mind is consulting, because it allows you to pivot across domains, live across domains, and do what you want to do. And which is why I said, okay, I'll go spend 2 years in consulting and figure out what excites me, right? So I left the dream job that I had come to IIM Lucknow for, really worked myself off to kind of convert the PPO. I gave up my dream opportunity. I went ahead. I had one opportunity. So after you convert a dream company, let's say like a Unilever or a TAS or an Amazon or whatever, you get one offer. You can apply to one company after rejecting it. So I took that punt. I applied to BCG after a lot of research, right, on which company to apply, which is the best consulting firm, etc. BCG worked out for me. I went ahead. Gave the interview, I converted it. My goal was very clear. 2 years into consulting, I will know which domain excites me, and I will leave. It's been 6.5 years. I've not left. Because I still have the same ambiguity, which says I do not know which domain excites me, because any problem that is exciting enough to solve is equally exciting for me, and I would love to solve new set of problems. People do it by changing jobs, starting up. I do it by finding an interesting client. Right? So whether it be working with a minister or working with a rural setup or working somewhere internationally or working on a merger or working with a media problem, which is all glamorous, I've really lived this consulting life with very different kind of problems and end up realizing that, problem solving is what I absolutely enjoy, doing. So that's my professional journey. I also play a part of being a very active mentor. I've mentored right now, more than 40,000 people, across different platforms, campuses, etc. Through platforms like Inside IIM, I got exposed to, campus professors started calling me to be an adjunct faculty, etc. So I absolutely love playing that role.
That's a very good overview of what you have done so far, Pratik, and you made yourself very relatable and also like how do I put this, like a career to aspire to, because you also spoke about how even after 6 years you still feel that ambiguity, but what keeps you going is you understood from first principles that actually it's not any particular domain, it's problem solving that you are really passionate about, and you try to do it through staying in one company and doing it for different clients. 2 consulting questions, and then I want to move on to
Absolutely.
some interesting ones.
Yeah.
One is, it said that consulting is a very good a role to be in for exit opportunities, right? And you have probably seen people mostly leaving it after 2 or 3 years. So compared to them, why you chose this approach? Because you are somebody who is very intuitive, is what I understood through your introduction.
Yeah.
So just wanted to understand that. And second question is, what are some other things after consulting you have generally seen people do?
Very good. So it's a great question to ask, and I think also a very serious one. So, why do people want to come to consulting? Let us first understand that. As we deconstruct it, I will also talk about why do some people leave early on versus some stay for longer, right? So why do people want to do consulting? They want to do consulting because, number one, like I said, diversity of work, right? You can really work with different types of industries very early on in your journey. That's number one. Number two, you would do consulting because you get exposed to senior leaders, boardrooms, senior conversations. You start thinking like a leader, entrepreneur, etc. very early on, right? So let's say if your B school friend who's gone to a company A as a direct joinee versus you have gone to this same company as an MBB consultant, you would end up being in the boardroom at least 7 years before your batchmate can even go and see how the boardroom looks like, right? So you definitely get that kind of, edge start in consulting. That's number 2. Number 3 is you have a fancy lifestyle. You're living in 5 stars. You're traveling a lot. All your Instagram is quite lit and, followable. The number 4 thing which excites people about consulting is just the brand value, right? You don't have to think too much about what next, right? If you're in the market, you will be hired, right? And the reason is because you're developing the core horizontal skill. What is that core horizontal skill that every company needs? Everybody needs problem solving. Irrespective of which company, which domain you go to, everybody will require a manager to problem solve. So consulting teaches you that, and therefore anybody who wants to hire would prefer you. Similarly, they teach you communication, presence, senior presence, right? And therefore you're you sell like hotcakes in the market once you're out, right? So exit opportunities is number 5, why people want to do consulting. Why people also want to do consulting is, and I wanted to keep this at the end because this should not be a motivation, is for the money, right? Consulting is always the highest paying, right? Even if you start at the same salaries, right? You grow very, very fast, right? So let's say somebody in an FMCG, even if you start with the same kind of salary brackets, in a matter of 5 to 6 years, you'll be earning almost 2.5 to 3 times somebody in an industry role versus in consulting, right? So it definitely catapults your journey to making money. So that's why people do consulting. Coming to your second answer on, why do people usually leave, right? So, okay, there's a nice and fancy side to it, and there's a slightly not so nice side to it, right? The not so nice side to it, as some of you would know, is called up or out, right? So consulting tells you that, I will make you grow. You grow very fast, right? But understand that if you walk slowly, if you're not somebody who's learning, if you're not somebody who's delivering, every 2 years you either get promoted or you're given a certain window, and if you're not doing as well, you can look out for other opportunities, right? So it's a very well-known up or out consulting jargon. I mean, it's nothing new that you would be hearing, but so that's why a lot of people who end up not really doing well in consulting end up leaving. That's number 1 reason, because consulting is one career where you cannot stagnate. It's not like even if you're not doing good, you can stay at the same level for 4 years. That doesn't happen. You either grow, you either go up or you go out. So that's number 1. Number 2, which is also the case, is a lot of people realize that they've gotten the horizontal skill. They've also gotten the exposure that they wanted out of consulting. They've also gotten the brand value that they wanted out of consulting. And now they can go to their plan A, because consulting for many people is plan B. They come here to get a brand value, to get a some kind of capital which they can put in their startups, or kind of, learn a few things. So I've had a lot of friends who are very well-to-do, come from very well-to-do, wealthy business families. In fact, a lot of politicians and business people have their children come and join consulting first, just so that they can learn the basics of business, right? So if your plan B teaches you how to do well in your plan A, and if that has been met, you move to your plan A. So exit options, that's the reason too why people exit. Coming to your question number 2, which is, what do these people do after they exit, right? So the short answer is anything and everything. But if I bucketize it, an MBA will teach you to do that a lot, right? Everything is a 2x2, everything is a framework, everything is a bucket, right? So number 1 bucket is you exit to startups, because these are places where you're solving real problems very fast, very quickly, almost at the pace of consulting. So that's number 1 bucket. The number 2 bucket where you exit is strategy roles in corporates. Right? So let's say a Cipla or any other, I shouldn't be naming companies, but any company which has a group management. We had TAS in the morning, right? So companies like these where you have, group management roles, where you need somebody to think structurally for the entire business, is the second kind of roles that you look at. The third kind of roles that you look at is, again, going to be a chief of staff equivalent role. The fourth kind of exits that people look at is going to be people who start up on their own, right? So while I say this, and of course the 5th type, again a big category, is PE VCs. So you get a good exit to a PE VC, again because the skill sets are almost aligned, right? So these are typical exits, but I've seen a lot of atypical exits. I saw someone who's a very close friend exit to being a YouTube influencer. In fact, a lot of people do that, right? It's a great opportunity. People want to listen to you, You start, talking about how to get into consulting, what does this life look like, right? So a lot of people do that as well. So there are all kinds of conventional and unconventional exits over the years that I've seen people go through.
Lovely. Candidly, just mentioning when you spoke about being a YouTube influencer, I don't know why your picture came in my mind after consulting, if that is something that you're going to pursue.
Absolutely not. I will not do that because, I'll tell you why. Because, I do it as a passion until the time I do it passionately, it works. So, these influencers, you have 5 days worth of content and you can talk about it. And, there are people who spent like, let's say a few months or 1 year in consulting, and then they have content to write every day. You almost then fall back on chat GPT to kind of fabricate something. So for me, it's about delivering genuine learnings, and I don't think I can do it as a full-time job, because frankly and honestly, my journey or anybody's journey cannot give you lessons for 365 days into X number of years. So I want to keep doing this, but keep doing this till the time I can be honest and I can be candid with people, but not do it to an extent that I'm getting forced to create a video or to write a 500-word LinkedIn post. Right, so I definitely respect them a lot because there's a lot of value that these people are doing. But I do also agree that it's a difficult job to do, and sometime down the line you have to fabricate, which is not something I'm comfortable doing.
I love the answer because it shows how you still have to be doing what you are doing to speak about new things all the time, right? Which comes from genuinely doing it in the first place. Which brings me to my next question. So, consulting, as you mentioned, is often glamorized a lot when it comes to lifestyle. And fast growth means a lot of stories, I'm assuming.
Correct.
So do you have any stories or anecdotes that you probably can share with them where you had to kind of get your hands dirty and which were not glamorized, as people would call it?
Okay, good question. I have many stories, but I'll pick up a few of them. And the sad part is when you're working as a consultant, you can't take names. You can't name your client. You can't talk about what you're doing, but I can definitely talk about the experience, right? So if you think of a consultant, all of you can close your eyes and think of a consultant, you will imagine somebody living in a 5-star hotel, having the best feast, and that is true. But that's not always the case. I was doing this, in fact, I did 2 rural projects where I had to go to deep rural, right? And talk to people, understand how they're rearing their cattle, how are they generating extra income, how are they making livelihood sustainable. That was one. The second one was to understand how loan is given in a rural context. And I ended up being in a village in deep rural of UP, and this is the village of Mr. Vikas Dubey, who got executed, right? This is the mafia. And I am a young, enthusiastic consultant in this village, asking people how loans are given. Somebody said, why don't you come to a branch and see it? I entered this branch, and there's a huge line, and I asked the branch manager, how do you typically give loans? He said, very simple. The mafia will come, place his gun here, and I will sanction the loan, right? So, so you understand that ground realities and life in a rural setting is very different, right? That drives 70% of India today and will continue to drive in the near future, right? So understanding them is going to be the real game changer for all of you, right? A lot of you talked about case competitions. I'll also talk about them as we get there. But the biggest learning you will have is how do you get insights out of people, typically people living in rural areas. So coming back to this experience, I had the fortune of traveling to many villages. Few good examples that I want to share is, number one, we went to a few villages, and every village we go to, this is not chat GPT, this is not the era of people giving prompts and saying, write a poem for this person, his name is this. People had written poems and artis for us, and we were in the newspaper. So while we would love being associated with glamorous work, etc., one of the most fulfilling work I did came from the rural part of India, not just in terms of learning, but also in terms of experience that I had while I was doing it. So consulting does bring glamour to you, but it also brings real learning in many shapes and forms.
Okay, so you have mentored like 35,000 to 40,000 students
Yes.
almost so far, right?
Yes.
In your 5-year journey, 5-6-year journey, if I'm not wrong.
8-year journey.
8-year journey
Yes.
in total. Got it. So when you speak to aspirants today across B schools, and even today you'll get a lot of questions and connect with them later. So when it comes to success or success after MBA, the initial years, your batch versus the current batch, can you see a stark difference, or it is still similar how success is defined in the initial years after a B school?
Okay, very good question. And I want all of you to be very attentive, right? If you talk to a B school student on what success looks like, it's all about one word, which is placements, right? Now let me deconstruct it for you, right? What happens on Daisy? Daisy is all about fin companies and consulting companies, right? So everybody is super crazy. If you're on Daisy, you are the greatest. Day 1 is okay, day 2 is bad, day 3 is oh, you don't belong here, right? What comes on day 3? Day 3 is a startup, right? A startup which has the credibility to hire from a B school can come on a day 3 and hire you. Now let's fast forward 2 years from now, right? So you got your finals placement on day 0, you are a consultant, and your batchmate has joined an early stage startup on day 3. In 2 years' time, you are still one promotion up. You have become from an associate to a consultant. This person entered an early stage startup, has grown much faster than you, if they get lucky, if they've chosen the right startup. And what happens next? You are planning to exit 2 years later. What are your exit options? I said number 1 exit option is day 3, right? So day 3 now becomes your day -1, right? More valuable than any day 0 company. So as you enter B schools, please do not go with notions of companies being defined by the number of days where they're coming, right? And the best example to learn from when you're talking about days are campuses like ISB, where you do not have days, right? You can apply to any number of companies, so you do not feel pressured to go and prove your worth by converting a consulting company or a finance company because it's day 0. But you find and convert what you like doing, right? So if you like doing a marketing company, you will wait till day 0 like I had in my summers, right? And a lot of people do as they choose their career paths. But it's very important to remember that an MBA will keep pushing you to believe in this norm and mathematics of 0, 1, 2, 3, but please don't. Look inside, you have the answer, and use the first 3 months of an MBA to understand which domains excite you. Many of you will find the answer. Some of you will not find the answer like I did not. But at least understand where you want to do your summers in, right? So definition of success should not be getting placements alone. I would be very honest and candid, not just a preacher to say, don't chase placements. Please do that, right? But don't just chase placements, right? Understand, like I said, this is the last time you'll have people of such high caliber around you. This is also the last time you will understand discipline, right? So let me break it down, right? Engineering or undergrad, it teaches you how to live life, right? How to find friends, how to stay away from parents, how to, make friends, how to still digest hostel food, which is close to poison, right? So a lot of these things you learn in a UG campus. An MBA campus teaches you very different learnings. It teaches you how to survive corporate. It teaches you how to work with people who do not work. It teaches you how to be with free riders. It teaches you how to be around people who take all the credit. It teaches you how to stretch on a night where you are fully exhausted. It teaches you how to chase 5 deadlines at once. So the biggest learning you will have out of an MBA school is not going to be, finance, economics, operations, marketing, HR. It is going to be your discipline, right? So make sure you are there, you're delivering, you're doing case competitions, you're also learning and scoring well, you're also doing a few more things, but not doing everything, right? The worst thing you can do is to give into FOMO and start doing everything and end up doing nothing nicely. Right? So understand, what kind of learnings you want out of it, prioritize them and do it, but definitely do not restrict yourself just to a placement. You will find people of all kinds, right? So there are people who will become absolutely chill after placements. Now, these are typically people who do not end up growing very fast if you fast forward careers after MBA, right? Versus somebody who's made networks, and networks are not just knowing people or being connected on LinkedIn, but network is genuinely knowing somebody personally, right? So for example, Manavdeep, I wrote an article on him when he was a CAT aspirant. So I was in a room similar to this room 5-6 years back. He was taking his CAT. He connected with me. We kept in touch throughout his professional journeys. And, and if he asks for any help, I'll be right there to go and help him, right? And that stands true for anybody I have genuinely connected with. So do not think of network as knowing somebody by their name, but genuinely connect with people, right? Because you'll not have an opportunity to find so many people of high caliber ever again in your life. You will either not have time, or you will not have as many people of such great caliber around you. So, and summarizing the question asked, success is definitely chasing placements, but also chasing beyond placements. And what you chase is something you define before you enter the B school. And maybe you make a few refinements to it while you're there, but definitely make that list as you go back to your rooms today.
Honestly, that's a very unique answer. Like I've personally have done a lot of interviews, but I've never heard that how you broke down, like don't chase placements by the day on which it's coming on campus, right? The companies are coming on campus. I think that's super helpful for them, and it will eventually help them later in their journey. Pratik, you also recruit for BCG, right? If I'm not wrong, you are very actively involved in the recruitment process as well. So when you're on the other side of the table professionally, when you recruit for BCG, I'm not asking you an answer sheet or a cheat sheet to the most questions most people here have, but what are some of the things that it's a green light versus some of the things which is a red light for you to hire somebody?
Absolutely. The worst thing you can do to your CV is to become John Doe. So understand that there's no domain called consulting. Consulting is marketing, consulting is finance, consulting is HR, consulting is technology, consulting is operations. It is everything. It is a domain agnostic place.